So it became a little colder, but when I speak, I become a little warmer. So if I do a little striptease, then
Here we are.
I might. Yeah. Okay. Hi. Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me, Stas, and all the all the crew. And it was Joseph who approached me first. And thank you very much for inviting me here. It's just a blast. First this kind of experience for the first time. It's just very energizing and very stimulating. Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about diversify or specialize. I've called it a guidebook to becoming untouchable. You'll see how it figures out into the presentation later on, and it kind of touches on the previous presentation of how to expand and go beyond your comfort zone, because I had a very, as you see, a very smaller comfort zone, and I kind of expanded it, and now as you expand the circle, it becomes a different kind of comfort zone, and then you have another barrier that you can maybe expand on afterwards. So I'm Inga. I'm from Tel Aviv, as you can see here, and let's start. And you can. Joseph gave me a little introduction, but you will see also what I did, what I'm doing. I'm basing this on my experiences, on my story, as you can tell it, but I'll give you, I hope, some pointers for later on for yourself. I've started as a subtitler, did a lot of those things for the Israeli TV, Sopranos, movies like Shakespeare in Love, all sorts of things for many years. I do a lot of travel guides. From English into Hebrew. And my mainstays for the last 15 years, you can say, is travel guides and literary translation. This is for the girls among you. I brought this it's a very good book, actually. It's called, it's Lara Santuro's The Boy. It's a very good book in English. It kind of looks like it's 50 Shades of Grey, but it's not. Okay? It's a very good book. It's you should read it, The Boy by Lara Santuro. And I've been doing Stephen King's books for many years. I've done books that won the Pulitzer, like what's the name? Edward P. Jones's The Known World, or other very award-winning books, and many thrillers. I've done a lot. So these were my two main fields for many years after I quit doing subtitling. And then one day, it was like 4 years ago, suddenly, from having 8 books on my table and knowing like for 2 years in advance what I'm going to do, everything kind of changed suddenly. It was mainly due to the fact that 4 years ago or 5 years ago, they started talking about implementing what they call the French law of books into Israel, where they wanted to protect publishers because the Israeli market was very bad, and they wanted to protect the publishers and protect the authors by implementing this law that requires the books to have certain price for a year and a half without any discounts. So what they did is they really intimidated the whole market, and everybody just froze the books. There was no more books, okay? And the same kind of something similar also happened in the travel guide industry, because they're also selling those in bookstores. So I kind of suddenly became, oh, what's going to happen now? Because I was sure that I have, literary translation. Unlike, for example, something more technical, I always thought, machines cannot take over. I'm good, so there's no problem. But then I see that even without machines, something is shifting in the market. Okay, so what do I do now? Yeah, that was me with more hair. Okay, and I kind of also got the sense that because of this kind of downward slope of the market, that publishers don't come to me or approach me because I will ask more. So suddenly it was like they want newer. Suddenly, I'm starting to speak Hebrew. Suddenly I see that other new, like we say, newbies come in and get the books, and some of them are my students. And I'm good with that. I'm good. I know that the market is changing and that new people have to, I was new once, that new people have to get in. But it just shows you that suddenly the market is so low that they would rather take someone who is less experienced and pay them less, okay? Just as long as something, as they can save the money, okay? So, what did I do? I started taking all kinds of other stuff to do. I started doing all kinds of brochures where I only did like, you can say quality control or check or however you can call it. I started doing other stuff for agencies. I called all the agencies, I called all my friends, I called everybody I know in the industry and got other work to do, okay? This is for perfumes for Mugleo, okay? This is for security for children. It was a PPT that I did. And something from Georgian. Something for Head and Shoulders, I think. Okay, a little advertisement. I don't read Georgian. I speak Georgian. I understand Georgian. But I did this with my mother. She read it to me and I translated. Okay, so you can see that I pushed the envelope, as you can say, and I did stuff that I would normally not do, okay? These ones, I mean, this is creative work, Mugler and the other thing. It's kind of in my niche of creative translation, or the one where the London thing, it's upside down because it's kind of a PDF, okay? This one for the Israeli airline. It's kind of in my niche, but it's different work than I was accustomed to do, and I took almost anything that I could, okay? But you know, when you start thinking about it, you say, okay, so what am I now? Am I diversifying? Am I becoming like a jack of all trades? Am I becoming, do I do anything? That's a good question. So, Act 2, weighing the options, taking some expert advice. So I'm looking this way and that way and trying this way and that way. And as I said, I talked to all my friends and all the people from the industry. I was the head of the ITA, the Israeli Translators Association, so I knew almost everybody in terms of agencies and other translators. And one of them, for example, approached me and he said, you know what? You're good at English. I mean, I do I translate tourism sometimes into English. You're very good at English also. So how about you try it? And we give you, you know, there's a lot of work in financial. You know, those how do you call them? The tax things, dochot. Yeah, you know, financial things, and I'll give you one pager. You try it, and you see if it's just, you know, vocabulary. I mean, when you must master the vocabulary, it's no biggie. And I said, okay. And I think I worked on that one pager for 3 days. It was so tough. Okay, and I handed it in, and he said, you know what? Stick to your day job. Okay, don't take on financial translation. And I know that I'm not good at that. I don't understand financial translation. I don't understand technical translation usually, most of the time, depends on what. And I don't understand law and, legal translation. That's not my forte. So the first thing that I had to know is not what not to do, okay? But how do I expand, and should I expand? There's positive and there's negative. For example, what can be positive about expanding and pushing the envelope and being a jack of all trades and diversifying? There's a lot of good stuff that can happen. You can get more jobs. You can earn more money. What else can you do, for example? Anybody? Sorry? Be safer. Yes, that's true. Be safer. You can always rely on the fact that if you are doing almost everything, then you probably get work, right? Yes, that's true. But what's the flip side? What's not good about it? Uh, for example, the fact that people know that you are not specializing in anything. I mean, uh, I for one, I taught at Bedborough College for 8 years, and I always told the students, um, don't write on your CVs that you are just translating Hebrew into English, or English into Hebrew, and you can do anything. That's not good, okay? Always say, I'm great at, I don't know, it can be history, it can be fashion, it can be financial, and it can be technical, and it can be the nuts and bolts of, I don't know, okay? But you have to say what you specialize in. And now I'm going to call myself a jack of all trades and do everything. It's not. It doesn't sound that good, okay? Sorry. Yes, and you probably will get the lesser jobs, and you probably you know what I mean. So there's good and there's bad in everything. So there's all kinds of diversification, and started thinking about how do you diversify and should I diversify. There's horizontal diversification, for example. When you, instead of, if I translate business and banking, I can translate financial. It's horizontal, it's the same, kind of goes through on the same level, okay? That could be something that I expand into. If I'm translating travel guides, I can go deep and do a vertical diversification and dig deeper into the same niche. And instead of trying just like I did, like travel guides, I can also do localization of travel, which I did, okay? Like for hotels.com or others, okay? For Israeli airline Arkia and others. So you can go deep in that same vein of work that you are doing. Another thing is heterogeneous diversification, which is going to an unrelated field or niche at all, okay? Okay, so I decide, for example, if I'm very good at translating websites, and that's my main niche, I do websites. Okay, I don't know which websites, but it doesn't matter. And I've decided that I'm going to learn how to design websites, and I'm going to give the whole package. Instead of just translating them, I'm going to do the whole package and design them. Or, I don't know, something like that. You're welcome to pitch in if you have ideas or something else. You're more than welcome. Or you can do a corporate diversification, which is invest in a new service. For example, me as a translator, I don't have a lot of work now, so what do? I can open a cafe and let translators work there for a small fee. Okay, I don't know, whatever. Something else entirely. Go on to a different business that has to do with something with translation. It can also be that I've decided to put the hat, okay, and how do you say that? Put the socks or something. There's an American expression, I don't remember. Something, never mind. And I decided to quit translation because I can't find work and I'm going to do something else. But that's not diversification, that's just moving to another field. Okay, but here we're talking about staying in the same, diversifying into a different niche, but in the same profession. You can call it that. Or the most obvious choice in this corporate thing is just opening an agency. That's the most obvious thing. If you can't but again, if you can't get enough work, if I can't get enough work as a freelance, I'll probably not be the greatest agency. I don't know. Maybe I will be. I don't know. So these are some of the diversification options there are for you. I took this from this blog called Circa Lingua. They have a lot of, it's very interesting. You can go there and they have a lot of interesting articles about these things. And this is not something when I found myself with a little less. I have to say that I was never like out of. I always had something a lot going on, but less than usual. So this was not something that I said one day on a lounge chair and said, okay, let's think about diversification right now. But these are things that I kind of were going on in my head. And one of the things that I did is just also turn back to some of the books that I translated on the subject or something that inspired me on the subject, and also go to someone who did strategy with me. Okay, but that's at a later stage. I also did that. How do I become untouchable? Untouchables, it's a tricky kind of thing. It's in India, for example, you know that there's a caste system, and there's the untouchables, which are the lowest caste. Okay, but here I got this thing about untouchable, and meaning the other thing, meaning how to become untouchable, that you are on a higher level and cannot be touched or cannot be unemployed or something like that. And I got this from a book that I translated, Thomas Friedman's. You probably know him as maybe I don't know if you know him, Israelis know him. He writes in the New York Times. He wrote the book, The World is Flat, and other books. Okay, I translated him. It's a very good book on globalization. And he talks about when the world goes flat and you are feeling flattened, reach for a shovel and dig inside yourself. Don't try to build walls. Don't say, okay, what am I doing now? I have to put a wall around myself and I don't know, and make sure that nobody gets my job or nobody interferes or nobody. But no, go out and first of all, search within yourself. That's what he's saying, and go out and expand. That's what he's saying. The way I like to think about this for our society as a whole is that every person should figure out how to make himself or herself into an untouchable. That's right. When the world goes flat, the caste system gets turned upside down. In India, untouchables may be the lowest social class, but in a flat world, everyone should want to be an untouchable. Untouchables, in my lexicon, are people whose jobs cannot be outsourced. He was talking about that. He wasn't talking about translation. He doesn't care about translation usually, okay? He was talking about, he went to India and he saw that people were doing, in call centers, you know those call centers where you call, like, if you have a problem with IBM computers or whatever, there's no IBM anymore, but you called them and you got into India and they would speak to you with a British or American accent and solve your problems. They would teach them to speak in a British and American accent to solve the problems of British and American people back there. Okay, so those and he thought, okay, the world is going flat, and because Americans, for example, used to talk about the fact that a lot of work is going overseas. So how do I protect my work in a flat world? Okay. So what he says, Thomas Friedman, he's a very smart man. So who are the untouchables and how do we get our kids to be one? Okay, untouchables come in 4 broad categories. Special. So I kind of drew inspiration from this. Special people are Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, may you rest in peace, okay? And I don't know, Michael Jordan. Special people who are like very, very top tier, first one of a kind or whatever, okay? Most of us are not that special. We are all special, okay? But not Steve Jobs yet, okay? Okay, we are special. So if we're not that special, then we should be specialized, okay? Which means, for example, I'll give you a story from my experience. I told you that I did a lot of subtitling. And I did it for years. It wasn't, I don't know how it is in the Ukraine, probably not that lucrative, right? Not a lot of money in subtitling, or am I wrong? Maybe it's the best thing, no? In Israel, it's kind of peanuts. I did it at the beginning, and quite for a bit of years because I liked it. You know those translators like me who used to say, I have to do this because I like it, I love this. And even if it's not, even if I don't make money, I like it, I enjoy it. But subtitling is quite a problem in Israel. They pay peanuts, and so it's not specialized. I mean, everybody who, even if you're sitting in India or in anywhere else, you can subtitle if you know Hebrew. Okay, English into Hebrew, you can do that. But for example, it was like 10 years ago, when I don't know exactly when, but when the movie, how much do I time do I have? Do I have time? Yeah. Okay. Okay. When the movie Sex and the City came out, the first movie, someone called me and said, "You want to go to Thailand? All expenses paid for 4 days to do like Q&A on the movie." And said, "Oh, why not? I mean, travel is my thing, right?" Of course. So they bought me a ticket. I booked me a plane. I had a chauffeur to drive me on it. I did a work like 4 hours out of those 4 days. I did like 4 hours of work watching the movie in a studio in Thailand, in Bangkok, where they showed me the movie in different segments. I first saw the ending, then the middle, and then the beginning, because they were afraid that I would like pirately, like take pictures of the movie and I don't know, distribute or something. So and I did Q&A on the subtitles in Hebrew, because apparently Thai people don't speak Hebrew. I don't know why, but I checked them and I corrected a few mistakes, and that was like 4 hours of work, and it was. But now, if someone said in Thailand or something, and could do the work instead of me, right? Subtitling, which is considered in Israel less of the work, but they had to fly in someone from Israel to Thailand to do that Q&A, because apparently nobody can do like that Q&A work or something like that. The final part of the work. So that was like a specialized kind of thing in subtitling, okay? Or for example, now I do scripts into English of the last few years. Israeli series or TV is very, very popular in the States and in other places. So I sometimes translate scripts into English to sell in other places in the world, and they are willing to pay for that, because that is specialized in that subtitling broader niche, okay? That is a specialized work that they really want to get good, okay? And they're willing to pay for it, okay? So that finding that specialized niche, or becoming anchored, for example. If you're in the Ukraine and you're doing work that only you can do in Ukraine, you cannot do anywhere else, maybe, okay? I can't give you an example for translators, because we are a little bit of, like, we can work anywhere in the world, but for example, if you're getting a divorce, and I hope you don't, but if you're getting a divorce, you would never go to a divorce lawyer in Egypt, right? When you're living in the Ukraine, you need someone who's anchored here. So to be someone whose business is anchored here, if you are a translator whose clients rely on him, okay, and your clients are all agencies from here, and they rely on you, and you have good relationships with them, and you meet them sometimes, and and they know that they can trust you whenever, okay? Then you're anchored here, okay? And then you are more specialized or more untouchable than others, okay? Or if you're adaptable. Now that's something also that I can talk to you about from my experience, is that I adapted very fast to new technologies, for example. In an era when nobody else used Trados, or there was no memo queue, I started using Trados like 15 years ago in Israel for travel guides, because I knew this was the future. And in the beginning, it was so-so because I didn't know right to left, and it messed up the whole thing, and I quit, and then I came back to it when MemoQ came out, and it was much better, and now I do everything, even literary translation with MemoQ. I do everything with MemoQ. And I do travel guides, and sometimes it gives me like 70% hits, okay? And that's great. And I did that. I knew that it would work well 15 years ago. You have to like be adaptable to new technologies and learn how to harness them and master them, okay? And then you can become more of an untouchable, okay? That doesn't have to be MemoQ and Trados. That can be other things. That can be like if you're working on websites, then you must know a little bit about HTML, or I don't know, about working. If you're doing a lot of work for social media, then you must know how how AdWords, how this works. I don't know, everything that has to do with the technology in the periphery of things. Okay, so that's very important, and that Thomas Friedman says will make you untouchable. And if he says so, then maybe. Now, another thing is I went to a strategist and we did a roadmap to success, which is something which I also found with in a book that I translated. Ken Robinson, do you know Sir Ken Robinson? He's the #1 TED speaker of all times. He talks about education, and he talks about finding your element, how to find the place that is right for you. I found my element as a translator. I love my work. I'm sure you do too. He talks about that. He doesn't talk about translators. He talks about finding your element. And one of the ways that he talks about is creating a mind map. So when I found that I don't have a lot of work to do, I went for a strategist, but you can do it on your own, okay? You don't have to have a strategist and pay money. You can just create a mind map and start from that and start thinking about what you're good at. I wrote, in the middle, I want to do translation. I don't want to be a bookshop owner. I don't know, okay? I want to do translation. But what am I good at? So I started writing. I'm good in creativity. I'm good in history. I'm good at art. I'm connected. I'm well-known. I'm this, I'm that. I started mapping history, art, and whatnot. Financial, out. Legal, out, okay? I started mapping the whole thing, and it helped me a lot, okay, to figure out what I can do. For picture your business using a vision board, for example. That's what Ken Robinson says. You can put a vision board and say, this is what I want to do, okay? Mind map your main field and everything you can do with it, okay? I know that I'm good with art and history, so I can tap on that. I can do something that has to do with that. Use a vision board and mind map to assess your skills. Use a table and write what you excel, your average, and you suck at. That's what I did. I suck at financial. Everybody knows that now. Okay, so I did that with a strategist, and I identified the skill set also using. That was like a game for me. Do you know Adzuna? Have you heard of this? Go into the site. It's called Adzuna. It's a funny site. It's for British, I think. It's for the British. It tells you the purpose is to find jobs for you, and it tells you if you just log in and put in your CV, it will tell you how much you can earn in Britain. It told me that I can earn 70,000 pounds, which is nice, okay? But it also gives you the skill set. So for me, it said that I'm good at translating because I gave them the CV, and in a few seconds, it tells you what you're good at. So it's kind of like a mind map. It tells you, I'm good at translating, instruction, okay? I teach, okay? I'm good at copywriting, marketing, DK, because I do travel guides, so DK is one of the biggest, like LP, Lonely Planet. DK is the other thing. And Saba, I don't know why it wrote Saba. I don't know what I have to do with nuclear energy. I've never done anything nuclear in my life. But aviation, because I have, in the army, I have an aviation past, okay? But no nuclear. But it told me kind of like a little mind map of what I'm good at. And you can expand on that mind map. And you can, it was a game for me. I didn't really use it to find work, but it was a funny little experiment. And it tells you what you're worth in Britain. So what I from my experience would recommend is if you get into a slump like I did, is to redefine your job description. Okay, I said to myself, I'm not just a translator. I also write. I also teach. I also do this and that. And I broadened, or I went outside of the smaller scope that I used to have, and I broadened my scope. And I redefined my job description. Nowadays, I hardly say, I don't think my card says that I'm a translator. It says that I write. I write, and I writing the globe or something like that, okay? I don't do just translation, I also write. Modify your elevator pitch. Do you know what an elevator pitch is? The 30 seconds that you get to introduce yourself when you're in contact with a new person, okay, those 30 seconds, just think about what you're going to say in those 30 seconds, okay? Identify untapped knowledge through a mind map, what we saw before. Re-edit your CV, have different versions. I always told my students never to have just one version. I have one version for travel, I have one version for marketing translation, I have one version for other stuff, okay, for writing, because my experience in each is different, and I think when you show that you're more into that field, it shows more like you're an expert, okay. So that's the thing with diversifying or specializing, okay. And expand your versatility within your field of expertise or in a new field. Now, my experience, the story that I told you, I didn't really diversify, did I? I dove into my field and made it into something wider, okay, of marketing, of creative translation, of travel. I took the whole niche that I used to work in, and I just expanded it much more, which doesn't really qualify maybe as diversification, but as specialization. Yes, I'm almost finished. And adopt new technologies, which is always good. The last thing that I did for this on this account is, for example, I took a course in social media, okay? Just to know what's out there and know how to use, for example, Facebook ads if I want to use them, or how to use Twitter better. I'm not saying that I'm using all that information. I learned a lot, and I'm still working on my on my own website, because writing for others I can do in a snap, but writing for myself, what do I say? How do I say it exactly? It has to be perfect, so it's always more difficult. But at least we know how to do it. And use social media to reposition yourselves. It's always good. So to sum up, like Act 3, the happily ever after, I don't know if it's a happily ever after, but it's a better situation right now. I started writing both in English and in Hebrew for travel magazines. I write for Masacher, which is the Israeli leading travel magazine, which closed now after 5 years. After 3 years I worked there. It's closed now, but I have other prospects. I write in English too. I did all kinds of other stuff that has to do with travel, including like something to do with the Volvo race of Cape Town or whatever. And I work for Al Monitor. I translate for them because I said in my mind map, I said to myself, I'm good with current affairs. I know politics, okay? So I work for an online magazine. I translate a lot of Middle Eastern political articles for them, which is kind of diversifying, right? I diversified that niche. I did a lot of things for art websites. I did hotels.com, writing for them, and localization for them. Another thing, artist thing, and like I said, I write for and transcreation also. Transcreation in all kinds of fields that niches that require, so it can be slogans or whatever, but things that require creativity. Thank you very much for that music. Now.
תודה רבה, אינגה.
Thank you very much.
הפרזנטציה היה מעניין.
Thank you very much.
I just want to see the eyes of our interpreters.
I wanted to play a video, but I'm not sure it's going to be here.
I think we'd better ask if someone have a question. Okay,
yeah.
We have several minutes for question. Alexander.
Yeah, thank you very much, Inga, for such nice presentation. From the presentation, we can conclude that you've made a list of to-dos, especially for the industry newcomers. Can you give a very short list of not to-dos to be untouchable, in the good meaning of the word? Thank you.
Short list of not to-dos. I would say that not to do is to, first of all, to think that once you have a certain niche, then it's going to last forever. First of all, work can change. The industry changes all the time. A lot of people, I said I was active in the ITA, and one of the I told this story in the morning. That in one of the sessions in the ITA conference, one of the participants got up and said, "I've never used TMs. I've never used any this because I have work and I will always have work and no problem." Don't think that you'll always have work. And I thought that way, and it's not like that. I mean, things bounce, but things also change and shift. And also you have to, like I said before, not to think that you can just say to people, "Oh, I'm just I'm translator. I'm a translator." That's not enough. You have to say what you're good at. You have to say, "I'm a translator specializing in travel. Nice to meet you. I write travel. Nice to meet you." Okay. Say, and also it's always good to say what you can do for the client, and not just say I'm a translator. Okay. But I have to hone that also. And like I said, in your CV, not to do it like a very, very generalized CV. You're welcome to add some more stuff if you have. What else? I would say not stay at home and be a wallpaper and just translate. Just be outside and like we're doing here. Okay. But I think that in most of the conferences that I've been to, I've always seen that it's really the people who come to the conferences is like preaching to the choir, because people who come to the conferences know that they should be outside, know that they should give the cards, and it's those who are staying at home who should be getting that message. I've always been one to meet clients, to take them out for coffee or something, and never been one to say, "Oh, I'm shy, so I would never meet a client." Okay, that's not good. The list can go on. I think, yes.
I think we have time for one more question. Anybody?
You don't have to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.